And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
One of the most asked questions I get as a reviewer is, how many times do you play a game before you review it? And my answer is always the same, as many as it takes. And really, that can vary for each game. And some games require a lot more plays to really understand how the game works. So that presented me with somewhat of a dilemma when I got this game. This game is called 504, designed by Friedemann Friese, published by 2F, and in America by Stronghold Games. Now 504 is called 504 because the game comes with 504 games inside. Or essentially the game comes with 9 modules. And you can stack those 9 modules in order, so you can have any of the 9 modules in slot 1, and then any of the remaining 8 in slot 2, and then any of the remaining 7 in slot 3. So 9 times 8 times 7 is 504. So we're going to be taking a look a little bit here. I don't know that I can do this a full justice. I played, obviously, not all 504 games. Not even a tenth of that. Not even, well, no, I did play over 100th of that. But, I mean, there's a lot of games in here. So there's no way I can review each and every one. So this review is going to be kind of giving you a feel of how the game plays a little bit, and then my thoughts on this system as a whole. If anything, before we get into this, we can certainly say this is very ambitious. No one has ever tried anything like this before. Here we go. Let's take a look at what's inside the box here at 504. I wanted to point out that this box is really chock full of components. You have 2 charts here, you have hexes, and just piles and piles of pieces. When I opened this up, it really took me a long time to punch everything out. But let's take a look here at the rule books for the game. You have a basic rule book here that explains how everything works. It gives you the basic rules for the game, and then it goes into details about each module. But when you're playing a game, you're going to be using this rule book here. And this, you turn up like this. And so what's going to happen here is I'll pick some modules. So maybe I'm going to say we're going to play the World of Exploring. Okay, this is module 5. And then for the second part, we'll play Traders, which is module 1. And then for the last one, we'll pick this module here, Shares, which is module 9. So this game is called 519. Now when I do this, first of all, they have a bit of a theme here. The World of Exploring Traders by External Financing. That's the name of this game. And then there's also a bit of a flavor text here, so they can put some theme in it. But what's really interesting here is you can see up here that it's going to tell you what kind of map to use. So this says here for map, see other modules. Fine, so I'll look at the other 2 modules. This says use map 3, and this says use either this map or this map. How do I know which one to pick? I look at the numbers. This Roman numeral here is 1, so this is what I'm going to use for map. Then I look for player turn order, and here it says clockwise player order, round-based company order. This one has the lowest number, so that's what we'll be using, round-based company order. And then starting money. Here, everyone gets 60, 70, 80, 90 in turn order. Everyone gets 60, or here again, it says see the other modules. So I look here, and this one has a smaller number. So that's some of the setup that you do at the beginning of the game. Then it tells you what pieces you need for each of these, the special game parts. There's always some pieces that you will use in every game. So we use these special game parts. In fact, you'll see there's this line here on the side. If that line went all the way to the top, then some other setup would come into play, but it does not. And then there's some game preparation here. It tells you what to do at the beginning of the game. And then there's some charts on these because the actual rules are over here. This is the rules for the game. You'll start at the top and go down. You will notice, like right here, for this module, some other rules will come to play if it's interacting with different modules. At this point in time, since I'm not interacting with modules 4, 2, 6, or 8, I can ignore pretty much most of these rules. And down here, I can ignore that because I'm not interacting with module 4. And so these are the basic rules of the game that we are about to play. It's really hard now because there's so many different rules in the game, but all the games are going to use a map. And the book, the main rule book, actually comes with the different maps that you're going to use depending on which setup. There's not actually that many maps. Some of the maps will start small, and you're going to explore as you find them. Other maps start with some things set in place, and the rest of it's kind of randomized. Now, when you can see these maps here are basically, they are hexagons, except they have rounded corners. This is to make them fit. When they fit together, they actually don't move very much. Although it does, when you're setting them up, you're like, oh, wait, is that the way it goes? Okay, that's the way it goes. There's a little bit of a pain there. The maps, these tiles have two sides because sometimes you're trying to get a resource from one side, and so that will show you the resource that comes from that type of thing. Now, in some of the modules, actually not many, just a few of the modules, you're going to be running a cart around. Each player is going to have a cart, and they're going to be running it around. In fact, if you play the initial module 1, 2, 3, that's what you're doing. You're just running this around, picking up resources. Sometimes cities will have resources. The cities are numbered, and these are the different resources that they'll produce. The game comes with tokens that you can cover up the different spots once that city has produced that resource, and you can also see what resource that city will produce. But I might deliver it some wood, and then I can cover that up. There's also going to be different people in the game. These are sometimes soldiers if you're playing with war, sometimes area control, and usually the way these will work is you'll have a starting city, and when you go out to a new place, this guy will basically eventually change into one of your bases that you have. Each player has a capital, and sometimes you're trying to capture these different areas. Sometimes you're just trying to control as many different areas as you can. That's here. There's a chart to keep track of how many different areas you control. There's a spot here for shares when you're playing with shares to keep track of the price of the different shares. And there's really a lot. There's cards, there's privilege cards that basically when players can buy these, and these can be worth special powers that you have. There's also share cards that come with the game for the different companies that you can put money into share-wise. There are pieces and components for 4 different player colors, but there's also this orange color and this red color. They're used for barbarians or neutral players. The game comes with a pile of paper money, which is used when money is needed. It also comes with a pile of victory points when you need victory points. It also comes with a bunch of small tiles that will represent your cart that's driving around the board. It comes with roads if you need to build roads to different sections for some of the things. Combat in this game is very, very simple. Usually when you attack someone else, you will roll a die, and a certain number is a hit, maybe multiple hits, and the attacker will take out the defender and move in and conquer their territory. Yeah, that's really all I'm going to show you at this point in time, because now I want to spend a good chunk of time talking about this and talking about my impressions of the game. Now, in the game, there are 9 different modules. The first of them is basically pick up and deliver. And many of these modules are not going to use the residents, the little guys walking around. That's usually often going to use your cart as you go around. In fact, as I said, in 1, 2, 3. So for example, 1, 2, 3, it's the introductory game that they teach you to play the game with, essentially the game, and you have this cart, and you're moving this cart around, and you're picking up goods in some cities, and you're delivering it to other cities, and you also have the chance to buy cards that can upgrade you and give you special abilities, and you're also going to be getting money each round, and the money you get is from basically placing little area control markers on the board. That's because pickup and delivery is the main one. Now you'll see here, there's the 3 modules in the book. The top one is kind of the main game, okay, module 1. Module 2 is how you make money. So whatever module you pick for there, that's how you make money. And then module 3 adds special rules. So when I flip to 1, 2, and 3, module 1 is pick up and delivery. Module 2 is race. And module 3 is privileges. So pick up and delivery is the main part of the game where I go around the board and I pick things up. Race is essentially how I get money. So I'm dropping different things off in different cities, and that is how I get money. Putting things on the different hexes. And then privileges basically just gives us some extra cards that give you the special abilities. That's kind of what the privileges does. Now, let's say I reverse those. So I have race, privileges, and then pick up and delivery. So if I'm putting, then that's 2, 3, 1. So here, you're basically, the main thing is about getting a race, getting things out on the board. Privileges, or we have secret thing, and you're going to be getting money from those cards. And then pick up and deliver, you're also going to be able to move some people around the board as a pickup thing. And that's just me kind of quickly saying that, I did not actually play 2, 3, 1 here. So race is about racing around the board. Privileges is about those cards. Module 4 is military. Military is the war modules, where you'll be going around and attacking other players and doing area control. Exploring. When exploring is involved, usually you won't see all the hexes. You'll put positive hexes on the side of the board, and you will, when you go explore, you'll find a new hex, and sometimes exploring gets you points, sometimes exploring is just something you have to do to get to the rest of the game. It depends which module it's in. Then there are roads. I showed you the roads, and that's connecting things and connecting settlements with roads. Then there's majorities. Think of area control, where you're trying to control different spots on the board. That's Module 7. Module 8 is production. This is where you're going to build things and produce resources somehow. And then 9 is shares, and that's where there's different shares and the prices of those shares you're going to get. There's a lot in here. The theme of this is a big book of worlds, and you're trying to find the right world module. And in fact, you can go to their website, and people have ranked the different games there, so you can see which ones you'd like best. Opinions. Okay, first of all, I'm kind of surprised that they put 1, 2, 3 as the introductory game. I understand that it's very simple and it's easy to get into, but it's a really boring game. 1, 2, 3 is just running around the board. It's like playing a very mediocre Euro game. The rule book then suggests that you play 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, 9. I have not. I then just started mixing things up and playing all sorts of things. But I have played every module. Now what's interesting here is that the box says that it's 504 games. And this is a completely new and unique experience. Well, it is, but there is a game that came out years and years ago called Peace Pack. And Peace Pack is essentially a box of different components that you can make a whole pile of games with, and many Peace Packs. In fact, one was just released where Eric Martin from Board Game Geek curated the many different games in this pack, and so it uses a bunch of pieces for a lot of games. 504 is essentially a mega Peace Pack, except it has 504 different games, and the unique, interesting, innovative thing is this rule book where they flip around and you can do different things. Now, there is no question in my mind that this is absolutely incredible. This is a work of art. This is amazing. This is innovative, how you put these together and match these. I am blown away with just how cool this book is. And I love when the setup, it's really pretty simple. I mean, all you need is this book and a couple pages in the original rule book that basically tell you how you move people around, how you set the board up, etc. The rest of this rule book is just like very simple, Module 4, military, and it just tells you how military works with all the different modules. And I never really had to look at those unless I needed to refer to something for fact purposes. The back of the book then tells you what all the privilege cards means, which you actually will have to look up because you won't always know all those. So I said Module 1, 2, 3 I thought was fairly simple and boring, and if this was the only game in the box, I would have said, blah, don't buy it. Okay, so I played several other modules. I played every different combination, I mean not every different combination, but every different module at least once in one of the positions. And if there's one thing I can tell you is that, yes, this game has 504 different games in the box, but it's not really 504 because a lot of the games are going to feel really similar. For example, the middle module tells you how you get money. Well, that's kind of a minor thing, and then the bottom one's even a little bit more minor than that. So 763 and 764 are different, but they're not really different. They're almost like, here's a game and here's a variant you can play of the game. So I would say that if you can play every module, I think, in 27 games if you play 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6. There's a way to play it, so you play every module in every spot, and that will give you a good feel. So you don't have to play all 504 games to feel the full breadth of this game. The problem is going to be where you come in and go, well, which ones do I play? Because 1, 2, 3 is boring. And then, so what do I do after that point? Well, again, you can go on the internet, and I'm sure other people are going to suffer the way through it, or you can pick randomly. They give you cards that you can pick randomly which one you want to do. Of the different combinations that I have played thus far, I've played one game that I thought was bad, 2 games, including 1, 2, 3, that I thought were mediocre. No, I'm sorry, 4 games that I thought were mediocre, and 2 games that I thought were pretty good. Interestingly enough, both games that I thought were pretty good involved Module 9, the shares, When I went to the website to look at the rankings for the different games that were there, I noticed that almost all the top games had Module 9 in shares. The economic engine of the shares and buying the shares is pretty good, and that one works really well. So I think, and this is based on my limited playing of the game, and the limited playing, I've read a lot of what other people have written, that many of the games in here, maybe a majority of them, are decent or mediocre games. There may be a few brilliant games in here. Well, you have to play more to figure that out. But is that worth you buying this for? That's the million-dollar question, right? Should you buy 504? Well, not the million-dollar question. I guess it's the $100 question. But when you get 504, you are buying essentially an experiment, a mad scientist putting together this thing that everyone's like, that's not going to work. But it does work. So before anything else, we have to give major kudos to Friedemann Friese for putting together something so audacious, so just no one thought it would work, and it's really cool. And so if that intrigues you, that alone I think would be worth it for many people to get it, to see this, to own something that's going to really be a piece of board gaming history. But if you're looking for a great game, is one great game better than 504 decent games? Well, that's up to you. If you want variety, you have the variety forever with this. Have I found a game in here that compares to, say, Power Grid, another game at Friedemann Friese? No. Power Grid is amazing. And not any of these games even came close, that I played, came close to the wonders of that. And I don't think they can. Because each of these is like, okay, here's this piece and this piece, and since they all have to work together, they all have to be a little bit polished a little bit to work together, so you can't have any sharp, cool edges to any of them that makes them stand out from the pack. I don't know how many more games of 504 I'm going to play. Maybe someone could talk me into it, but I think if I played any more games of 504, I would want to feel out and say, hey, I heard this one's really good. Okay, I'll play this. I want other people, because I'm kind of done experimenting with it. Some of the people I played with were very underwhelmed with the games. They said these games are just, they said if this was the only game that came in a box, I would be furious. It wouldn't be that good of a game. And I certainly understand that point of view. You are getting your money's worth with components, except for that paper money, which is garbage paper money, because you have to pass the money around all the time, and many of the games that involve it, and that money is going to get beat up, and I wish they would have used something else other than that paper money. But the rest of the components are fine, and the whole thing has a cool look to it, and it's going to fascinate people. I don't think it's ever going to fall on anyone's list of favorite games, or even like top 50 games. I think next year there's a chance this game will win awards for being innovative, and people will probably study it and look at it. And there's a possibility that hidden in this book somewhere, there is an amazing game. So how do I, like I said, this is really hard to review because I don't know if I should recommend it. I mean, okay, I'm going to recommend it, but I recommend it with the caveat of, wow, there's so much coolness. And maybe you think, hey, I want 500 different games in a box. But it does a little bit remind me of, when you go to the store, well, we don't buy CDs of games anymore. But I used to go to the store and see these CDs of games, like 150 games in one CD. And then you would see one amazing computer game. Which one did you buy? You bought the amazing computer game. That 150 games is what Grandma bought you because she didn't know what else to get you. And you played through them, and most of them weren't very good games, and maybe a few were okay. Most people didn't go gaga over those games. There's a reason they were all one box. Here, there may be that hidden gem, but you're going to have to slough through a lot of not-so-great games to get to it. But at the same time, it is really amazing how it works together, and I think some people are going to love it just to be for the experience, like, ooh, today we're playing The World of Traveling Road Builders with a bias to individualism. That is 163. Is that game any good? Hey, maybe you're the one who will find out. Dice Tower Judgment, approved, but for a very select group of people.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.